We are ready for lesson 3. Lesson 3 is the first lesson in their project. So the rest of these lessons are an ongoing project that learners will do that will take them through all the steps that they need to take to develop their app. In this first part, they are picking a problem to solve using an app. And then they have to identify and interview possible users to get their perspective on the problem. For this, you need the design thinking booklet. Like I said, this is the first part of their ongoing project, which will be all recorded in the design thinking booklet as they move through. So to start off, you can get them to think about the previous lesson where they really had to get into the mindset of their users. Then they can use that to think about what factors are important when building an app, when you have a particular user in mind. Again, you can use the example of building an app for teenagers versus building an app for retirees. Now you're going to take out the mind map that you made in lesson 1, the problems in their country, their communities, and with themselves. And then you're going to have a look at the problems and discuss which of the problems could possibly be solved using an app and which made me need a more physical solution. You're going to pick one of the problems and you are going to model looking at the problem in more detail. Think about who is affected by the problem and look at it from different perspectives. For example, the problem I picked was sometimes people have to wait a whole day to see a nurse at the clinic. Those of you in South Africa will know what I'm talking about. But I could look at it in the perspective of different things. So I could look at it in the perspective of an old lady and how uncomfortable it is for her to wait, how she's around sick people the whole time, how it's difficult for her to get transport back and forth. And then I can look at it from the perspective of a nurse who has so many people to deal with. She doesn't know who's sickest. She just sees the people in order. And, there might be somebody who has something contagious that might be passing it on. She has no power over figuring out who's the sickest and who she needs to see first. Once you've modeled it for the learners, you're going to get them to pick a problem. They need to pick a problem that can be solved using an app. And then they need to take it and work at it in more detail. They need to think about who is the person that is going to be using the app and who are the people that are affected by this problem. For homework, they need to interview 2 people with 2 different perspectives on the problem. Once they've interviewed the person or people, they can jot down their perspectives in the design thinking booklet. So for example, here what I spoke about, the perspective of a nurse, the perspective of an old lady. So they can find people that are connected to that problem and interview them to find out their perspective. Here you can link it to real life by discussing how sometimes it's good to see things from different perspectives. Sometimes people don't consider the people that are affected by the problem when they solve the problem. They solve the problem in the way that they think is best, but they don't consider the perspectives of others. And then sometimes the solution doesn't work. Sometimes looking at things through different perspectives can also change your view. For example, thinking of a dentist visit from the perspective of the poor dentist who has to hurt you, or thinking of a pet shop in the perspective of one of the pets inside. How friendly does it look? How inviting does it look? How scary must it be with all those hands reaching towards you? So sometimes thinking in different perspectives helps us to develop empathy. Now it's your turn. Find this problem in the design thinking booklet and pick one for you to work on. Remember, it needs to be something that can be solved using an app. And then you can jot down the perspectives of 2 different people. It'd be great to interview people, but I'm pretty sure as an adult, it's easier for you to think in different people's perspectives. So jot down the perspectives of 2 people connected to the problem.